So with this, let me call upon Danny Sheppard to do the opening speech. I don't know what he'll be talking about. Oh, I think the title of the speech is A 50-Year Reflection in 15 Minutes, but I think you only have 10 minutes now, sorry.
Thank you, Leha. Well, this is really a great privilege to... hello, Ajahn Brahm. Yeah, I've got to just sort of squint to just see just exactly where you are. But a great privilege to come and talk a little about well, my memories of Ajahn Brahm, because they do go back to the time when he first came here. And I suppose the first thing just to say really is that Ajahn Jagaro, who was the spiritual director at the time, we had another monk, Venerable Paruso, was he had to go back to Bangkok really, well, mainly because he really couldn't, well, I think it was that he couldn't really stand the the trials and tribulations that were here in Perth at the time. And because we were just really had one little house in North Perth, and anyway, he went back and Ajahn Jagaro was just really absolutely beyond, over the moon, really. He came to me one day and he said, you know, guess what, we're having this monk come and his name is Ajahn Brahm. And he said, you wait till you meet him, Dennis, you wait till you meet him. He is a monk's monk. And yeah, so Ajahn Brahm arrived. I mean, there was, right from the very start, you know, his sense of humour, even, I might even say sometimes a little bit ribald, the humour. But he was, on the whole though, very quiet. He kind of stayed in the background, as probably good monks should do when there's, Ajahn Jagaro was the spiritual director at the time. And, but right from the start you could see that this Ajahn Brahm was going to be a really very, very good monk. And that sort of showed up. I mean, I have been involved in helping with a lot of the building work and the design work of the different buildings that we've had around the place. But Ajahn Brahm has always been there with his trusty trowel and laying bricks and doing carpentry, doing all the skills that a builder would do, and doing them well, very, very well. And as you'll see, no doubt, with the e-book that Leha was talking about, if there's a sample of his writing in there too, this is very instructive just to look at. Really the way that he does this copyright print, just very mindful. You can see just how mindful it is. And sort of doesn't surprise me with that. That's the first time I've heard that story about the feet and the ear. But that certainly doesn't surprise me at all. But Ajahn Brahm at the start was a very gung-ho monk, as far as in my estimation anyway at the time. There was nothing that he couldn't do. I mean, he slept on a door. He down at the monastery, it was just a few bricks and the door. You know, he didn't even take the panelling off. Just sort of put some kind of blanket over the top to sleep on it, and that was in a water tank. But all the monks were probably doing that at the time. It was, but I remember especially though us not being really, people like myself, and I'm only speaking for myself now, there were people who did know what to do, how to treat monks, but we didn't really have much idea of how to look after monks at that time. You know, we didn't really know what the rules and to my great embarrassment, I always remember the day when I took Ajahn Brahm to a funeral one morning. I don't know if you remember this, I guess you would, where coming back, he didn't tell me about dana, and I kind of just didn't even really think about it. I'd just driven him to the funeral and we finished the funeral at maybe 10:30, 11 or something like that. So I sort of just about drove him straight back to Magnolia Street. And then Ajahn Jagaro was there and he said, have you had lunch? He said, no. And I just, I didn't really even think about it. So anyway, there was a great scuffle in to get into the fridge just to see what was there, just to see what we could get out to give Ajahn Brahm a feed for that day. But that was kind of probably some of the reasons why Peruso went back to Thailand. But anyway, Ajahn Brahm came out and weathered that storm fairly well, I would think. Sorry? I really weathered the storm. Yes, it did. Yeah, that's something else that you could definitely say that I remember about him. He was certainly a lot thinner, but I don't, you say that you're kind of a little bit fat or plumpish. You always say that, but I don't think you are, Ajahn. I think that you're just right. Just right. So, so just remembering that part. And then what I'd like to say about Ajahn Brahm, just over the years from this gung-ho start, over the years we've watched Ajahn Brahm soften so much. It used to be, practicing Buddhism with him was really quite fierce in the first little time, with just the times to get up at retreats and various things like that. And it's been quite a joy just to see the way that Ajahn Brahm has sort of softened down to be so sensitive to people in the years that sort of followed that, really, because there was one time when we were sitting in the back on the back lawn at Magnolia Street that used to have a little sort of a ramping lawn. It went like up and like this, and we used to sort of sit at one side so the monks could be at the other, and we would sort of have like a little. It was a mini auditorium in the back. But anyway, Ajahn Brahm was probably one of his very first talks here. And he went on this rampage for 1 hour, about books.
Oh, yes.
Now, it's a really interesting story coming from someone now who's one of the world's best sellers, especially. Books, books, books. Bin, bin, bin. Don't read books. Bin, bin, bin. And all. For 1 hour, this diatribe went on. And Ajahn Jagaro was sitting up next to him, and when he finally finished, to our relief, all of us that were sitting, Ajahn Jagaro turned to Brahm and he said, "Well, thank you very much for that, Ajahn Brahm." He said, "Now, we've got a fundraiser for this weekend. We're selling this book." It's just a classic. But at any rate, yes, Ajahn Brahm has really, over the years, has been a wonderful role model to everybody. But what I would like to say, that I think probably one of his best attributes is the way that he does really love himself. I'll just mention a little bit about the nuns' situation in a minute, but I did travel with him to Wat Pah Pong when he was summoned over there to be excommunicated. And I remember walking in with him into the Bangkok Bangkok airport rather. And, as you're walking along, Ajahn Brahm was on this side, and he's walking along, and I could feel myself being sort of pushed, and then suddenly we're going up this sort of aisle, and then, I walk along a bit, and then push, and we ended up in this bookshop. And then sort of, let's have a look over here, Dennis. So over here on the shelf here, there's the Dharma Loka, the Dalai Lama rather, and all of that, but then up at the side there was just a row of Ajahn Brahm's books and a great big life-size cutout of him standing right there beside. So he'd managed to manoeuvre me into the bookshop there to to sort of show me that he was one of the best sellers here. This was the best-selling book now. And then as soon as all the girls in the shop realised that it was Ajahn Brahm, they're all, oh, Ajahn Brahm, can I have your photo? Can I have a photo with you? He's lined up with all these pretty girls with his cardboard cutout there, having photos taken. But, it's this ability that Ajahn Brahm has to be really loving of himself. It's been one of the most inspiring things that I've kind of noticed about him, and taught me so much really about Buddhism and how to practice. Because even though, on this trip home, I remember I said to you, you'll probably remember, I said, there's nothing about you, Ajahn Brahm, you're a skite. And he said to me, what's a skite? And I was just sort of explaining, how it's, you're kind of really like yourself and sort of things like that. But I certainly, in saying this, I'm not, I never see that as a way that Ajahn Brahm is trying to, if you like, blow sunshine up his bottom or something like that. It's not like that at all. Ajahn Brahm is someone who genuinely likes himself. He kind of likes to be with himself. And you can see, you can just see how, well, even the story of the walking meditation, how many of us really could start off like that, to walk and just go into a deep concentrated state with that. You can only do that when you really do like yourself, when you really do like being with yourself. Ajahn Brahm likes being with himself. Now, there's been a lot of people that have come to the centre over the years, and I've heard, probably he has too, a bit of criticism about that, but this, I think, is one of his best qualities. The fact that he can really cherish and be with himself, love himself. It's just sort of such a wonderful, wonderful thing to, to think about. And coupled with that, though, I just wanted to tell just a little story of an effect that he had on me a long time ago now. Don't know if you remember this even. But I used to play the piano. And I'd learnt it because I was in a band, a bit like quite a few of the monks apparently. They all seem to be in bands and that, but I was in a school band anyway. And we used to play a few dances and things like that. I played guitar and banjo and piano. And I'd been learning, but I sort of went and did some more lessons, and I was starting to get reasonably okay. I could sort of, sit with myself and play, and started to play a few classical songs and certainly a few popular songs and that, but I was just talking to Ajahn Brahm something about the way this was working. I was saying, I'm just going to take more lessons, to do some lessons now with the piano so that I can maybe just deepen that a bit. And he looked straight at me and he said, what are you doing that for? Now, when a monk says that to you, you kind of, wow, because I don't know that I really fully understood. It took quite a while for this suggestion to integrate into me. But and I know that, when you sort of go beyond, say, 8 precepts and you're moving to the 10, you're starting to move away from sort of looking at the world in a way that gives you pleasure and gratification in ways like that. Or really, probably the right word is more enchantment. Because that's the way that I kind of was with music, or I am, still am, with music. Music can really cause me to become enchanted. And I know this sort of works. I remember Ajahn Sumedho once giving a talk once, and he was talking about coming out of a retreat one time, and he said, and this music was playing in the background, and it was the song "Tell Laura I Love Her." Someone remembers that too. Yeah, and he was saying how that just sort of picked him up and took him took him, enchanted him. I mean, and that's how we are with the world, isn't it? We've kind of got this enchantment with the world. But when Ajahn Brahm said that, it took a little while to sort of really appreciate, because I took it on board, what he said. You know, what are you doing that for? But it really started to sort of point to the way that his mind works, and the way that I think the Buddha's mind works too. What it is to see the dukkha in this world, because we're all so idealistic, aren't we? Well, I try to be anyway. You try to be idealistic about things, but this world is not fixable. You can't fix it. You can't make it perfect, and it takes such an effort, really. Taken me really all of the time that I've been involved with Buddhism just to sort of fully appreciate that this is not a fixable place. That this place, even though this world and the universe may be balanced in some way, but it's balanced because it's got these sort of, well, what I would call unusual valences that kind of offset. And you can never make them right, because everybody's got a different view of it. We're always going to be in trouble. We're always going to have a world the way that it is. And these sorts of things like music and just the sports and sort of the exhilaration of sort of, you know, whatever it might be, climbing a mountain or skiing down a slope, all of these sorts of things, whilst they might be okay, but I think what Ajahn Brahm was telling me or pointing to me that day was, look a little deeper, look a little deeper. And this is how he is. He's got this almost laser vision, laser focus on what it is to be, on what the right view is. And the right view is not to sort of get entangled with the world, not to become enchanted by it. So that little lesson that you gave me that day, Ajahn, do you remember that at all? Do you remember when I said that, or when you said it to me?
Actually, no.
No.
I'm honest.
Because I must admit, when you said it, I was a bit sort of dumbfounded, even maybe a little bit, what does he know? You know? A bit like that. Anyway, I think I might have gone over my time too now, so I'll leave my comments at that, but just wish you all the very best. I'm very, very pleased that you're still in robes, Ajahn Brahm.
Yes, thank you. You've been a good friend.
Yeah, and you have been, one of my best friends.
Excellent.
So thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Can we give Dennis 3 loud sadhus? Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Very nice sharing by Dennis. Yep, he's been our president for a number of years, ex-presidents, and then he's also our honorary member of BSWA. So